Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Yes, Super Week is over in the Americas, but still big questions raised on exactly what has happened to Loud, the 2022 World Champions, highly competitive last year in 2023 as well, but all of a sudden this season, things have fallen off a cliff rather sharply. Yes, Aspas has gone to Leviathan, and what about the implications of that? At this point in the season, they are looking pretty likely not to even make it to the playoffs, and if they don't, what does that mean about their team going forwards? Aspas is gone, their World Championship chances potentially are in the mud. Apparently there's rumours that Saadhak is not especially happy with the way that a coaching situation is currently working. He does not necessarily want to be on the dual list, but arguably he is being forced to be by the nature of the team as it stands. What changes might be necessary in the near future? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Big happy birthday to BCJ of yesterday, turning 24, was cool to see, of course, of M80, a team that still is in with a pretty good shot this year of getting through Ascension and getting back into the league. Of course, BCJ had his time on that Evil Geniuses roster before they made the change. The rest since then is history. But the M80 team has been going through a few interesting things over the last couple of months. Nitro is gone, and he's now officially retired from Valorant, and he's officially returned to Counter-Strike with signing with NRG. So the amount of time that he's going to do this, I don't know how many more we're going to see from this of Nitro, like whether next season he's going to be back to Valorant again for another stint. I think this is probably going to be it, isn't it, realistically? But they brought him into M80. It worked for a bit, then it didn't work. They've made some changes. It's just M80 are in a really competitive battle, because last season it looked like, wow, M80, they're going to be the dominant force this year of challengers, because they basically dominated last year, but of the guards, right? And the guard qualified, they're now G2, and they're doing very well in the league itself. So therefore, people thought, okay, M80, easy dubs next season, but not really proven to be the case. Yes, their team hasn't been stable the entire time, but there's other teams out there, Oxygen Esports, for example, that are looking really rather strong as well. The World Championship, by the way, 4 weeks today. It starts in Seoul. So that is your timeline. There are the final couple of matches, then the playoffs, then the teams are determined into the World Championship. Few matches, though, we've got to dive into. PaperX versus RRQ is going on right now. Obviously, the big storyline is about Monyet, right? Because Monyet was on Paper X, then they get rid of him because Jing is returning. And actually, in one of the very first rounds, Monyet popped a crazy ace, actually, on the Neon to kind of show his former team why they shouldn't have dropped him in some sense. But as the game progressed, it became quite clear that actually, yeah, like, fair play. Paper X won this one 13-7 in the end. And the Ascent right now is actually 8-5, though, for RRQ. So this still has some life in it yet, this series. It's been really back and forth so far. By the time this video goes live, you may well know what the result is. But regardless, both of those teams are looking pretty good to make it to the playoffs in the end. PaperX, of course, are qualified, and RIQ are 6-3 anyway. So yeah, both of those teams comfortably into the playoffs. So at this point, you're kind of playing for championship points for the standings, which are quite important if you don't get top 3 at the playoffs in the end, and also just for, you know, some level of pride and practice for the rest of the season. Certainly for a guy like Monyet. Team Liquid, by the way, finally got a win. Fair play to those guys. They got a dub on the board yesterday. The fall off of Karmine Corp has been, I wouldn't say it's been massively surprising on some level. They started the season very strong, but whether they could keep it up was the question. I think I always had slightly more faith in Heretics just because of their roster construction, the fact that they've got, you know, the brothers in there, like the way that their roster is put together, I thought was always, and even just their coaching staff and everything, I really liked the way that Heretics had it, and I felt like KC, if there was a team in the region that was going to regress somewhat out of those two that were really dominating at the start of the EMEA side this season, it was probably going to be Karmine Corp, and seems like it's kind of turned out that way. 13-11 bind on KC's pick, and then map 2 was not close at all. 13-2 to Team Liquid. It's a good bounce back from them because there's been lots of talk about this Team Liquid roster, whether it's going to be good enough, what the future holds for it. And like in EMEA right now, Liquid are now 4-5. So, you know, it's actually really interesting how competitive it is down there, because even Giant X, they're bottom of the standings, they're 3-6. And Na'Vi, however, they are officially, as it stands, out of the playoff spot contention because their fall off has been something to witness, to say the very least. KOI are not that bad. Like, they're pretty solid. But Na'Vi of a couple of months ago would be winning this series without too much of a challenge. But Na'Vi this stage have been getting crushed by literally everyone they have played, and they've not won a map so far. It was 13-10 on their pick on the split, despite a little fake comeback on the second half. And then Icebox was 13-6, not even close. So what is going on with Na'Vi? It's quite incredible, isn't it, how they look good, but they're not good enough to make it to Shanghai. They get rid of Doombros, their coach is gone. I'm sure he's sitting there with a bit of a smug grin on his face and maybe they're begging him to come back, I don't know, but I'm not sure there's any real saving Na'Vi at this point. Many of those rosters that were doing really well at Istanbul a couple of years back now on FPX and all this stuff, now on Na'Vi, Artist was then gone, he was an NRG, is back again, and they've just fallen off so badly. And I think, honestly, what happens here is you start to fall off, you start to question things, and all of a sudden, mentally, you're in a massive downward spiral. And that, it seems, is what's happening now. Because even as Angel tweets out, it almost, doesn't seem like this is something a player would tweet out, because it's just so, shocking, right, in terms of their results. But as he says, 0-2 against KOI, 0-4 this split, 0-8 in map count. No words, to be honest. Feels like something got broken in our team after the second Heretics lose in playoffs. I want you to know, most of us would bench themselves if they could. Don't even know about our chances of going to playoffs. So, incredible, right? Most of us would bench ourselves if we could. I guess the point is that basically everyone knows it's chalked. The team vibes are awful. And this is admitting it, right? If everyone on the team is saying, hey, do you want to bench me, guys? You want to get rid of me? I'm happy to go to the bench. Just make a change. Please save me from this misery. And if everyone's saying that, no one's happy. The team is just absolutely chalked at that point. So, is there any hope for these guys? Probably not on that kind of evidence. But also, what do? Do you make a one-man move? It's difficult to say. So as far as I'm concerned, they'll probably stick it out. They won't make it to the playoffs. Their season will be done, and then they'll completely blow up their roster. But yeah, something happens. But time or entropy, right? Eventually things are going to fizzle out, and it seems like it's exactly what is happening here with this Na'Vi lineup. But it's kind of come out of nowhere in some respects. They haven't won a map in stage 2. They've been 0-8, and clearly they do not see much confidence in that actually happening. So yeah, we'll see if Artis has anything to say about this in the near future. But next season is going to be quite fascinating to see how many of these players they keep around, whether Angel stays and builds a new roster, or what they do. Because there's obviously still some talent on this team from all the success they've had in the past, but right now it's just absolutely not working at all. So, EMEA, by the way, is reaching a really interesting spot because, yes, KC have regressed, but they're still right in the mix, right? If you look at the situation, they're 4-5. They're still right in the hunt for a playoff spot. They're still there right now. Na'Vi is still there at 4-5 if they can just win a couple more maps, but their map count is just not really looking so good now, so even 5-5 is not necessarily going to be enough for them to get it unless they 2-0. But I guess it is possible, right? Because even Vitality are up here 4th seed at 4-4. So it's still all to play for already for a number of these teams. And, well, as you can see, it's just ultra competitive. Unfortunately, the guys at the bottom are probably dusted, but it's actually not even guaranteed there yet. It's very likely to come down to a lot of tiebreakers. And, these are the remaining games if you guys are interested. Just quickly on the Americas, because Sentinels have officially qualified, of course, for the Stage 2 playoffs. And actually, if they defeat G2, they actually will guarantee World Championship qualification, right? Because if they beat G2, they will ensure they have enough points in the standing. So they won at the start of the season, they won Masters Madrid, so that gave them a pretty good, healthy lead in terms of championship points. The team with the most championship points from the region goes to champs, even if you don't get the result you want in the playoffs. So that's a pretty big win if Sentinels can get that over G2 coming soon, because that guarantees their spot at champs, although they probably will make it anyway, simply based on probably being good enough in the playoffs. But let's talk about this Loud situation, right? Because how the Mighty have fallen as far as they're concerned from winning the World Championship a couple of years ago. We can even see it right here. Scroll back to 2022, winning, this is the lock-in event. This is Champions 2022, beating Optic there in the grand finals, of course. All these matches they won, they were so good at the start of last season, they make it all the way to last year's champions, and eventually they fall short to Evil Geniuses, who went on to win the entire thing. They lost to PaperX as well, slightly earlier on. This season, though, after losing Aspas, it has been a very much a different story. Look at those series losses in a row, unexpected for a team like Loud, and it's just been, look at this recent record, it's so ugly, and their record this entire stint has not been good enough, especially exemplified in many ways by exactly who's running at what roles. Because sure, Toys is generally, even though not in this series, he's been on the Jet, he's been on the duelist role, but that wasn't really happening. We had Saadhak on the Neon against Furia, and it just wasn't really working. It was okay, but Saadhak is just not really built to run the duelist. So the question has been, what's going on here, and why are they doing this? Because clearly Saadhak isn't that happy about it, and there was an interview that esports.net did with Saadhak where he said, I've said this before, before, I feel very uncomfortable playing duelist. It's not a role that I feel like I can show who I am. Just so you know, I'm not even making that many calls, so I can't even be the in-game leader, because I guess as the duelist, he's struggling to even do that. So, you know, I feel bad for Saadhak because he's trying to do what he can to try and make the team win. If he needs to run this role that he doesn't want to run, if like the team thinks that's the best way, then he's going to just suck it up and do it. But the problem is that it just isn't working. And apparently Toy said, to be honest, I don't want to play duelist either. So then Saadhak was like, hey, I guess I'll play it instead. So there was then this reply. I don't know if this is true or not, but like, because I couldn't find this, and I'm not sure what his wife's Twitter account is, but apparently someone tweeted that this was not his decision, and not using Gecko was also from the staff. And to make things worse, a fan posted a video of him talking to one of the staff and asking not to create meta, but just follow the meta, and his staff laughed at the guy. Brazilian Twitter was going crazy because of this. So, you know, apparently there's drama on this. There was also these screenshots going around. I don't know if these are real or not. There's been some speculation they might not be, but there's this loud community here on Reddit where there were these screenshots going around of discussions with some of the coaching staff and all this stuff, and just responses indicating that it's not exactly all sunshine and rainbows behind the scenes in that Loud camp at the moment. So what exactly next potentially for this Loud team? What will they do from here? What is Saadhak going to do about the situation? Because it doesn't seem like he's especially happy with how things are going, and the results aren't good either. And if things go wrong, who takes the fall, right? Because if the team and Saadhak as the IGL, maybe not even the IGL anymore, are in conflict about what roles to use and what roles to run, then if things go badly wrong, as it looks like they are, because making playoffs is definitely not guaranteed right now. I mean, let's have a look at this for the Americas. They're 3-5. Like, they need to win the next couple of series to make it, and even then, it might not be enough depending on certain tiebreakers, just because MRBR are just so far behind. And if they don't make it to the playoffs, if they don't make it to the World Championship, obviously they're going to be doing something with their roster, but the debate is what? Like, will the coaches drop out? Will Saadhak get dropped from the team? What does he think about the situation at Loud? It just does seem like that since the departure of Aspas, it's all been downhill for this organization. But very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
A KO could be a counter to Jumpkin's chamber.
That Paper X might be
Let's
looking
see.
to set up, and instead it's kind of a delayed trap, seemingly, from Paper X.
All right, well, now
Contact. Oh no, the timing. Monyet dominates his old team. Oh hell nah. Oh, Monyet's like, give me my fucking spot back, dog. Not just kidding, you can keep it. So that's about an ace. Ain't no way. W with Ike's Pharaoh. Monyet aces his old team. Oh my god, nah. Nah. What? What? Bro just aced his old team instantly, bro. He ain't wasting no time, dog.